Hi everyone and welcome to the Irish Art Show, broadcast to you from the Scientology Community Centre. Tonight we continue our theme of focusing on the visual arts. My guest is a passionate painter, a woman of faith, a jewellery designer and a lover of life and of course people. She is Sandy Williamson and she's here to talk to us. Hi Sandy.
Hi.
How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. It's lovely to be here.
You are so welcome to the Irish Art Show.
Thank you.
I'm really looking forward to interviewing you.
Me too.
Yes, you've got a wonderful story, So we get straight in.
Yeah.
Get straight in. I'd like to go back to the beginning, and it seems to have started when you were at school. So tell us.
I think the wonderful thing is that when I was quite young, my grandmother was very artistic. She had a little sketchbook that she would do drawings. And it's one of my earliest memories. I came across her name was Granny Apple. I came across Granny Apple's sketchbook and I thought, this is magical, all these little pictures. And I realized when I went home, I realized this is something that I could do. And I started just doing little random drawings in a little tiny book that I kept with me. And it was my way of making sense of a sometimes difficult world. And I love pencil because it meant that I could have one thing with me and it was always available. And so that's how I started, just with my little sketches of anything and everyone, all the pets, any people that would sit still long enough, a scene, a flower, a tree, just
Have
whatever.
you kept all of them?
Some of them I've kept. Now, we moved around such a lot. I went to 12 different schools in my life as a child, so we were always on the move. Somewhat troubled early childhood, but yeah, drawing was a constant for me. It was a way that I made sense of things.
And did your grandmother, did she sketch or was it painting?
She mostly sketched and a little bit of watercolor, which is the one thing that I don't do, but she mostly just did drawings.
And can you see a resemblance? No.
Not really. I
No.
think hers is mostly like botanical art, you know, like a little flower. But the concept of capturing a moment is something that really resonated with me. Just capturing a tiny moment.
Isn't that amazing, actually, so that you both were able to do that yourself and your grandmum? The first drawing you did was for your husband, which was a cross. So what inspired you?
Well, for me, that was a landmark moment, a timeline moment in my life. I had been through so much and I knew that if I was to ever marry, it would have to be someone extraordinary. I had a feeling that it would be somebody from afar. But my faith was, I was praying and asking God to send me the right person at the right time. And so one day I was on school holidays and my friend was supposed to go and fetch these two Irish guys from the airport because she had a guest house. But she got sick and she didn't want to go on her own. So she said, please, won't I come with her? So anyway, I went with her to chaperone, went to the airport, she stopped in and I ran in. And I didn't know what two Irish guys looked like, you know, what do they look like? But anyway, I went in and there was this man. And the first thing I felt was completely overwhelmed, really. I felt like he could see right inside my soul. And that was David. We went back, we took the boys, David and Colin, to the guest house. And we ended up staying and just chatting half the night until Colin was nearly falling asleep on his chair. And the next morning he said, so I went back to my house and the next morning he said, can we meet for breakfast? And so we did. And so we spent 3 days basically just chatting. And on the third day he said, I have to go and speak to your dad because my daddy was my hero. And so we hopped in a rental car and drove 6 hours on the way stopping to jump off a bridge together, a bungee jump as you do. And we always laugh and say that's how we literally fell in love, jumping off a bridge. And yeah, we met on the Tuesday, and on the Friday, he asked my dad if he could marry me. And 4 children, and nearly 28 years later, here we are, the love of my life. And the answer to all my prayers and all my childhood dreams.
And you know, watching you even here this evening, the two of you together, like nearly 28 years, you just look like newlyweds to me.
Yeah.
Such a lovely energy between both of you.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love you can see it as clear as anything.
Yeah, I think we, you know, a marriage takes work, but we're just so committed to one another. He's my best person. We've been through such a lot together, highs and lows, but we just keep talking and keep loving. And yeah, he is my one true love.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. All
I
the women
waited, but yeah, I truly believe there's something about a South African and Irish connection.
There you go. Well done, you two, I can say. And again, your husband, Dave, he built you a studio in 1998, and then you started to paint in acrylic then. Isn't he a great husband?
Yeah, he is so kind. So we got married in 1995, and I was still teaching full-time. I'm a high school teacher. I was teaching Latin, English, and some art. It was a really busy season, and then I fell pregnant and in quick succession had 2 boys. But I went through a little bit of a struggle because there was no time for me to be creative, not even to pick up my pencil drawing. And I think I shelved that because I was busy with 2 boys under the age of 2. And he saw that I was struggling a bit. And then a friend of mine, who's a very well-known South African artist, Donna McKellar, she invited me one day to come up to her house and paint with her. So I said to her, well, I draw, but I don't really paint. She said, come on, it'll be good for you. So anyway, I went up to her studio. I ended up staying the whole day. And when I came home, I was just glowing. Like Davey just saw, it fed my soul. It was just so good for me. And I realized that my soul had been starving. And so then Dave got the idea in his head. He didn't tell me anything about it, and it was months later. I would go and paint with Donna once a week. I would go and do some painting with her, and that's when I started doing the South African landscape painting. And then I went away for a weekend with some girlfriends, just a little girls' weekend. And when I came back, Davey had converted half of the garage into a studio. And he just made me my own safe space. And that was just the most incredible gift that I could have.
I'd say that was a big surprise.
Yeah, that was awesome. It was
Wow.
really amazing. So I could just go in there, and it had a stable door, which is the half door, you know, the half door.
Yes.
So I could go in, close the stable door, but I could look out, I could see the kids in the garden and the swimming pool. I could keep a watch on everyone, but still be in my space.
Yes.
So that was just a really beautiful season for me.
That's when you feel professional, isn't it? When you have your
Yeah,
own studio.
kind of like, yeah, but we did lots of, it wasn't just painting, I did lots of creative things there. We would have girls over and we would do like a painting party, or we would do decoupage, was very in fashion in those days, in the 90s, and any other creative things we would just do together.
And can you teach? Can you teach painting?
I can, yeah.
Can you? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I would do some lessons with people, but yeah, it was just a beautiful, safe space.
Wow. Lucky you.
Yeah, lucky me.
Lucky you. And we're going to talk about your dad now. And as you said, he was your hero. Mm-hmm. And he had a connection, am I right, with elephants? Mm-hmm. We have the painting here.
Yeah, we do.
So tell us about that.
It's over there.
Yeah.
So our family are deeply connected to the wildlife. Like my dad grew up in Zimbabwe. It was Rhodesia back there. But my uncle was the head game ranger for Wankie National Parks. He was something of an elephant whisperer. He was the one that you would go out on safari and he would stand down a lion or an elephant. He just was magical in the bush. And we were so fortunate as kids. Every holiday we would be on safari in the bush with my dad, and that was my happiest time. And so after my dad died, there was no other thing I wanted than to do an elephant, because being with him made me feel safe. And the other beautiful thing was when he passed away, we had his ashes and we drove them. We did a big family journey up. It took us 16 hours, then 14 hours, then 11 hours. We drove all the way up to Zimbabwe with 4 children and my mother-in-law. And there's an island in the middle of the Zambezi River called Elephant Island, and we scattered Dad's ashes around a big tree. And then we got back onto the boat, and as we drove off in the boat, the elephants came over, and the scouts in the area told us that for 3 days, the elephants remained on the island, just around there where the ashes were buried. And that was really special. And it happened several times. With my grandmother, the elephants came. With my grandfather, the elephants came. So there's something very special about elephants and our family.
So there's like intuition? between your dad and the elephant?
Yeah, there was just something special, you know. Loxodonta africana.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's its real name.
Right, okay.
Yeah, my granny Apple wrote a book called In Love with Loxodonta, which is about journeys in Africa with the elephant.
Right. So even your granny had it, like it was just part of the whole family.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have that, do you think?
Yeah, we love, like, my daughter is mad into the wildlife. She's a wildlife biologist. She's about to leave in March for 6 months in the Amazon jungle. So carrying on the family tradition of being out there in nature with wildlife. My dad would be so proud of her. I'm sad that he never got to see her and meet her. But I love to think that maybe he's looking down from heaven and seeing her.
I have to say, you're such an inspiring family. All these wonderful adventures that are happening in your family. Like, it's amazing. And then let's move on to your discovery and passion for oil. And that's when animal paintings started. And so, talk about the giraffe for that.
So, I moved on to oil because as much as I love acrylic, it dries really quickly. And when you're trying to get an animal painting, you just need the paint to stay fluid for longer.
Yes.
And so I started experimenting with oil, and I just loved it. I've never gone back. And so I did a whole lot of animal paintings, giraffes, zebras, all kinds of animals. And I love painting them. Probably somewhere deep inside, part of my heritage is, you know, being in the bush. I'm kind of an African girl at the root, you know. So I love doing wildlife. In fact, the one that I'm probably about to start pretty soon is a leopard. It's the only one that I haven't done, so I'm going to be doing one of those soon.
But even the detail, unbelievable detail. How long would it take you to actually paint,
that would
say, even the elephant here?
Probably about maybe 60 hours.
Okay.
Over a period of weeks or months. You know, the thing with oil is that you have to paint for a little while, maybe 2.5 hours, and then leave it to dry for a couple days and then come back to it. It's just layer on layer. So the oil takes much longer. The acrylic, you could paint a painting if you had the whole day, morning to night, but the oil takes a longer time.
And do you think if you kind of come back to it over and over again over a period of time, does that change the perspective on it and how you're going to paint, or do you just still paint the same? It wouldn't matter.
It does change. In fact, like, this is a little funny. This is like my personal journey when I'm starting a painting. It's like, this is a great idea. I'm going to paint this painting. What was I thinking? This is too hard. Oh, I can't do this. I hate this painting. I hate it. No, I'm never going to finish it. I hate this painting. Oh, actually, that's quite good. Oh, yes, I love this painting. That's my process. It kind of, I think all artists have that. You know, you start something, you think this is going to be great, but halfway through you think, I hate this. This is so ugly, I'll never finish it. But then it comes around. So yeah, oil is like that. It kind of builds, and you just got to persevere.
And maybe because you're looking at it all the time. You know, it's like looking at yourself in a mirror, isn't it? You're like sick of yourself in the mirror.
And sometimes you'll see a little line and you'll think that's sticking out, and then I'll say to my family, can you see something wrong with this? And they go, no. So yeah, you do overlook at something.
Yeah, overanalyze.
Yeah, overanalyze.
Yes, yeah. And then actually then you had to move to Ireland, obviously, because you're here now. So you moved to Ireland, and it brings a new adventure for you in landscape. So we have here the boathouse. Can we talk about the boathouse? Yeah.
The boathouse, yeah. I mean, one of the things that I thought, when I came to Ireland, I thought, oh heck, my color palette that I love is all the rusty kind of colors. I thought, this will not translate to Ireland because actually I hate green, and there's so much green.
You hate green.
And I can't paint green. But then I realized there's actually a lot more color in Ireland than green. And so I find these beautiful landscapes where there are the rusty ochres and the moody skies. I think I love that very much about Ireland. In Africa, the skies are always like the blue sky, but I love the moody, dark Irish skies that you get here. So yeah, it was a new kind of a landscape, but I still managed to keep my own flavor in the landscape. It's
beautiful, actually. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
I love it. I love the name, the boathouse.
Yeah, it's an old boathouse.
It's so lovely.
Yeah.
So lovely. And then can we talk about your mom?
My mom.
So, and painting robins and teacups.
Yeah.
How perfect. Yeah. Teacups and robins.
I know. So my mom, bless her, she was a very she had cancer, and she was very, very sick, and she has different kinds of cancers over the years, and I was back and forth looking after her. She was a very complicated person, but I just loved her the best that I could, and I persevered with her. There was a lot of stuff between us that just was really hard, but I just chose just to love her in her imperfection and be the best daughter that I could be to her. And that was taking care of her when she was really, really sick. One of the things towards the end of her life that she loved to do, well, actually, she had two things that she loved: cigarettes and cups of tea. Even when she was so sick with cancer, and the doctor suggested that maybe she should stop smoking, she said, I'm going to die anyway, I might as well have fun.
Yeah.
So, but she would love to have a cup of tea with me, and I would pick her up because she was as frail as a little bird, and I would carry her out to the garden and sit her on a garden bench, and we would just sit together, listen to the birds. She would throw some crumbs. We would have a cup of tea together. And I think those were probably the most special times that I ever had with my mom. She never said the words that I really wanted her to say to me, but I made peace with that, and I knew that she was, in those moments, she was loving me in her way.
Yeah.
So we had special moments feeding the birds. And after she died, it was really painful. It was so difficult. It's very difficult to lose a parent, you know, and it was complicated, and I wrestled with it. And I think I grieved all the moments that we didn't have. And then I did a little painting one morning, just a small little painting, called There Is Hope. And I felt I need to find something beautiful out of this, because I believe that you can either fall into despair or you can try and find something beautiful. So I started doing that, and then I had a pair of teacups that were Granny Apple's teacups that I'd brought with me from Africa. And one day I just set them up on the counter, and I thought, I'm going to just do these little teacups and a robin, and with a little ticket. I think it said always, always remember. And then a couple of days later, a friend popped round and saw the painting on the easel and said, oh, I have to buy that. I said, really? So she said it was so amazing. And then I did a couple more, and everybody just really loved them. Mm-hmm. So, but every time I sat down, I just thought of my mom and the birds, and yeah, it was just a lovely way to remember her in a very positive thing, birds and teacups.
I think so many people would want the birds. It's just that, you know, the robin and the teacups. A lot of people could identify with that, actually.
Yeah, and I've had people come to me and say, can you paint this exact teacup? Somebody has brought me a cup or a mug and said, can you paint this exact one with the bird? And so that is a special little memory, you know.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And in 2018, 2019, saw you doing exhibitions to raise funds for mission work. How did that all come about?
That was just a wonderful, wonderful time. There was a lovely little cafe that gave us the opportunity to use their space, and we were needing to fundraise for going on some of our trips to Malawi, and so we had some exhibitions there, and it was amazing. It went so well. I sold so many paintings, nearly sold out both years. So that was a really wonderful experience for me. It was my first public art exhibition in Ireland. It's difficult when you've come from somewhere and you don't have a huge pool of friends. You know, you maybe have your friends that you've made in the church or in your community, in your neighborhood, but it's difficult as an artist coming into a new country when you don't have a lot of reserves to pull on and a lot of names to know. So that broke something open for me. It was really positive, and I thought, yeah, I can do this.
Did you feel grief when you left South Africa?
Yes, I did. I know.
How do you carry South Africa while you're here, in your heart?
There's an old saying where it says, it takes a while for your heart to catch up to your suitcases. And
oh yes, that's a great one.
I found that. And again, initially I was so homesick. But then I had to say to myself, self, I have to bloom and flourish here because this is where I am. I can't always be longing for home. I have to be happy and joyful to be here. I have to be the best me for my children and my family. So I just made a decision. I will always be African in my heart, but I'm Irish now, And I'm so grateful that we're here. I'm so grateful for my children to be here and the opportunities that they get in Ireland. So I still miss home, and I'm so thankful and so blessed that we get to travel every year to do our work in Africa.
We're grateful that you're here as well.
Thank you.
Can we talk about Malawi and the missions? So we have a painting here on the easel, this one here exactly. Tell us a little bit about this. I mean, look at the beautiful landscape, and yet we have these like little, like they're small houses, are they? So people are living in them.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there like one family to each door?
Yeah.
Or how does it work?
Yeah. So this is a little town called Nantapo Village on the way to Mulanje, and those are the Mulanje Mountains. We travel every year. We've been traveling for 10 years now into Malawi. We work with the poorest communities, with local pastors on the ground, to try and help people with food relief, with school supplies for children. The area that we go to is very, very remote. There's very little happening down there. So we've felt to go every year and to be faithful to go and help where we can. We can't solve all the problems, but we help where we can. We fed thousands of children, through flood. They have a cycle, flood and then famine, flood, famine. But we travel every year. We didn't go during COVID, obviously, but we travel every year.
Is it just where the area is that it's flood, famine, flood, famine?
It just seems
the
to have...
The position, is it?
Yeah.
Is it because
it's the very south of Malawi, and it's bordering Mozambique on 3 sides. It's a skinny little country, and they seem to have... They have flood, but then they have no rain for a very long time, so that the earth gets so hard that when the rain does come, it just floods again. So, and these are subsistence farmers, and you know, people here are so poor. Their children, they're like now at the moment, they're going through a hunger crisis. Children are only eating every 3rd day.
Yeah,
so for me, whatever I can do with either selling my jewelry or raising funds to help, that's what we do. And those people, they've become our dear, dear friends, our family.
It must be very hard to come back to Ireland after seeing all of this going on. And obviously you're more blessed in your own life here. I'm sure it just stays with you, lingers with you when you come home, thinking about the children or families that are in this kind of situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when we've traveled with our children. It's always so good for young people to do work or go into a 3rd world country, because we have a little saying in our family. It says that is a 1st world problem. And 1st world problems are not real problems.
Yes.
You know, slow Wi-Fi is not a real problem.
No.
Eating the same food for 2 nights in a row is not a real problem. But this puts in perspective. When you travel to places like this and you see the absolute poverty, it puts things into perspective.
But it's wonderful that people like you are going over and helping. That's really wonderful.
Yeah,
It makes such a difference in their lives.
It truly is a blessing to go and to give. Like, these people are so beautiful, and they're so warm and full of joy. You know, they have so little, but they are so full of joy.
You should print them off one of these paintings, that painting.
I have showed, we've been in one of the man that we stay with mostly. We stay in the village. There's no hotels or anything there. We stay in the village with people. We eat what they eat. In fact, I even ate mice. But they don't really get things like paintings and stuff on their walls.
Yes.
Like it's a 1st world thing, I think.
Yeah, I suppose it's
you know, we feel bad. I take over my little bag of tea bags, and they cook over a fire outside. They make a fire outside, and the cook boy has to start boiling the water at like 4 a.m. in the morning so that I can have my tea.
Yes.
And he thinks I'm quite mad having tea because there's no nutritional value in a cup of tea. So that is a Western thing. But we always carry our tea bags.
Well, there is some things you can't leave behind.
I can't leave my tea bags behind, no.
And they're easy to carry as well.
Yeah.
So then we're going to move on to COVID. So COVID hit. And I love that you say that it was a time for you to find beauty in simple things, with messages actually to inspire. So we're going to look here at the crusty jug. Where is it? The crusty jug here on these, which is absolutely beautiful. And I get what you're saying. What a simple painting, but what are they called? The Jimmy Joes, is it? Is there another name for them? Things. What do you call those white flowery things?
Oh, gone blank.
There is a name on them. We call them Jimmy Joes. But yeah, it's just such a beautiful, simple painting, isn't it? And that was obviously inspired by COVID, was it?
Yeah. I think one of the things I think that COVID taught all of us is that we need to slow down a little bit and notice the small things, because life gets so busy. And when COVID came, we realized that it's all the little things that are actually the big things. You know, it's spending time with your family, it's going for a walk in the park, it's those stopping and noticing small things. So I did a whole series of paintings, little bottles with daisies, little simple things, old rusty things that seem to have been forgotten, unexpected beauty that we find. So I think COVID was a time to slow down and notice the small things.
Notice the sky and notice the sunset.
Exactly.
Notice the sunrise.
Exactly. Just take a look around you and don't be in such a hurry. I think that was a good lesson for us. I know it's not to minimize, it was a very difficult time for a lot of people, but the good part was that it taught us to slow down a little bit and to value the important things, which is each other.
And I'm looking at the rusty jug there, and it looks so beautiful in that painting. It's gorgeous.
I love anything old and rusty and decrepit. You know, even in my paintings of old buildings, I'll always find a painting of the broken down one or the one with the leaky roof. I don't really like to paint the perfect, beautiful thing.
Well, it looks very perfect to me. And then special places next. We weren't going to talk about near and far, obviously. So we're here in Kerry. This is the Gap of Dunlow here.
The Gap of Dunlow. So
that's beautiful. Look the way the two mountains are kind of dipping there.
It's such a beautiful place.
Gorgeous.
I had never even been there, to my shame. But my daughter moved to Tralee because she's studying at the university there, and we would take her back down to uni and then just take a little trip about. So one day we took a little day trip, and she said, "You have to come through the Gap of Dunlow." And so we went up this windy little road, and we were driving all around, and we came across this abandoned building.
Wow,
and
gorgeous.
It was that dark, stormy Irish sky. And I just said, "Stop the car, I need to paint that." So took some photos and came home. So that's a really special painting for me. I love the play of the bright green. It's almost luminous green, the grass. I think the grass is greener in Kerry than it is in Dublin.
It is
because
a very
I'm telling you, when we
beautiful part.
drive down there, I just think this grass is luminous. It's like bright green. But then the mountains and the cragginess of the mountain and the sky, yeah, so that's a special part for me.
It's such a story, isn't it? Because you're kind of imagining who would have lived in that old cottage before it became dilapidated.
Yeah. Well, my husband and I thought, I wonder if anybody would mind if we just moved in and restored it. It could be our little holiday house.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And you even painted in green.
Yeah, I did paint in green. Like, I do paint some green, but grudgingly.
But that's a really good green.
Yeah.
Your gas. I'd like to talk to you about your jewellery and buying precious stones and pearls in South Africa to make it Ireland.
So it's one of the things that we always do. So once we've been in Malawi, we go down south, down to Cape Town, get a chance to catch up with my family who still live in Cape Town, and then I go on a buying trip. Because my jewelry is more than just jewelry. It's kind of wearable art. For me, I have such a love of stones, and I love to buy them there and then make them up here. So I buy small batches. So I'll buy a certain number of each different stone, and I'll make them up here and to sell and to wear. Literally, every time I have a new outfit, the first thing I have to do is go and make suitably matching jewelry.
Do you have a favourite stone?
I think I love howlite, which is this cream stone. I love that you can see all the veins and the lines in it. It's the same composition as turquoise, except that turquoise comes in a soil that has more mineral copper in it.
Right.
But
I get what you're saying, actually, by looking at it.
You see all the lines and the squiggles. And
it is like that.
I love a stone to look like a stone. I like to see the abnormalities in it. Otherwise, it just looks like glass. So, and then once you've been wearing them for a while, they warm.
Is that the same?
So these are howlites, some of them. And then this black is onyx.
Oh, onyx is very good, yeah.
I love the onyx, the black. This one is called leopard jasper. So, I
make up... Look at the leopard.
It's got little dots on it.
Oh, it's beautiful.
So I make them up here and then I sell them mostly at home, but then I've started doing a market. Not really a market person, but I do a market once a month and do my jewellery there.
How long would it take you? Obviously,
Different
if you're
pieces,
doing,
like
you
a
know,
long piece might take me quite a long time, but so anything from half an hour to some pieces could take me a couple of hours.
Yes.
And some are very tiny. I sit there and my family always tell me, Mom, you're frowning. You have to frown when you're concentrating.
I think it's amazing that I can't even sew a button in, so I can't imagine how you put together
But the process is very therapeutic for me again. You know, for me, sitting and doing my jewelry, I sit in my little space and you go into your own space. It's so therapeutic to do anything creative, actually.
Even being surrounded by the gems themselves, the stones, there's a lovely energy on them.
I always love feeling them.
Energy, yeah.
My grandchildren would come into the house and always want to pick them up and feel them, put them on their cheek because they're cold at first. There's something beautiful about gemstones.
There is.
So I love working with them. I kind of am very organic how I work. I never really have a plan. I just sit down and I put a few stones down and think, what should I do? And then I just start making. So that's
You are just so talented. My goodness me.
It's my escape.
It's beautiful. I love this. Your heart is to continue to paint and inspire. Tell us more about that.
I think I just want to be a blessing wherever I am.
You're a blessing even here, trust me. You're gorgeous.
I just want to be sunshine to people. You know, life is hard and everyone's going through stuff. There's a saying where it says, pain is inevitable. Misery is optional, and I just want to encourage people just, you know, to find the silver lining and choose joy, find joy. And I honestly believe that being creative has incredible therapeutic power. I have a little group of art students that come and paint with me every Thursday night, and each of them would say it's so healing for them to sit around my kitchen table and just paint together. So I think in this modern life, very often, something like being creative is the last thing that you do. We look after our bodies, everybody's gym fit. We look after our minds, mental health is a huge thing. But our soulish things, the thing that's me, our creativity, often is the first thing to go. It's seen as not important. But I've seen through my life that when I'm paying attention to the things that make me happy, I'm a much better person.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I'd love to inspire people to do. Be creative, try something new, choose joy.
You inspire people just by being you, just by coming in. You're like a ray of light. Honestly, when I saw you here today, like it's just wonderful. You're just fantastic. So we've nearly come to the end of the interview. It's been fantastic.
Thank you.
You're wonderful.
Gee, that went so fast.
I know, it's incredible. Just chatting away.
I know.
We could chat away for another hour.
I know.
But I'd like you to end the interview with telling us about your commissions and getting into local galleries.
Okay, so I've been so fortunate that I've done commissions from, obviously in South Africa, England, some paintings of mine are in America. I love doing commissions. I think that's so special when somebody comes and entrusts you with something that's special. So whether it's a pet portrait or a painting of the ocean or whatever it is, it's lovely to do commissions. And I would love to do more commissions. I love that chance to connect with a person and create something that means something to them. So I'd love to do that. I would really love to get into a gallery and put my art out there. I think for my husband's sake mainly, because we have run out of wall space in my house. Every time I finish a painting, he's like, where's that going to go now? But yeah, I'd love to get into a gallery and just carry on doing commissions. And
you'd be amazing in a gallery. It'd be amazing even to talk to people, people about your paintings.
I did the Stephen's Green art in the park, and that was lovely. That was great fun.
Well, we just end with your goals for 2024.
So my goals for 2024, well, we are navigating a little bit of a storm, actually a big lot of a storm right now. My husband has just been diagnosed with cancer. So I suppose my first goal is just to be supportive and, you know, love him through it and see him out the other side, and just continue to be a blessing to my family and our community. Yeah.
Well, keep inspiring.
Yeah,
keep shining.
Thank you.
We'll talk about your social media so we can connect you with people at home. So It's sandyw.art.
That's right.
And that's Instagram, is it?
Instagram, yes.
I'm sure there'll be loads of people wanting to connect with you after all of this. So I'd like to invite you to go across the table over there. And Sandy is going to do a lovely demonstration for us of some of her jewellery making. So this is going to, stay tuned, don't go anywhere. So this is going to be fantastic. So look forward to it.
How lovely that I get to show you what I do in my jewellery studio. So before I start making something, I just have to do a little blurb about how beautiful stones are. Like, I'm just taken aback every time I look at stones and I realize you have such a beautiful variety in the natural world. But there's one stone here that's super precious to me. This big stone is called Botswana agate, and it used to sit on my daddy's desk. He found it one day when he was doing some construction work for a bridge that he was building. It looked like a massive big piece of rock, just like an ordinary rock you find outside, a big ugly lump of stone. But he knew that there was something beautiful inside, and so he put it in this, what I thought in those days was like a tumble dryer with sandpaper. And after tumbling all day, it came out like this. It's just a beautiful stone and has all the different colors. And that really just gave me such a passion for stones. A genuine stone, you know, is real if you put it on your skin and it feels ice cold. But if you hold it for a while in your hand, it'll warm up. My dad used to say it comes to blood temperature. But anyway, that's just a little thing about stones, and I love stones. Creating jewelry for me is quite an emotional experience because I never really have a plan. I kind of go in and I take a pile of stones. I have loads of little pots like this of all different stones, and I just think, what kind of a day is it? Or I think, like now it's springtime, so I want to make a new collection for spring. So one of the colors that's really in this year would be the soft blues and greens, which are these colors that you see over here. It's called Amazonite. It's a beautiful stone. It can be brown or cream or even like a blue-green. It's a beautiful stone. The other stone that's really in fashion at the moment is amethyst. So I'm going to do just a very simple little amethyst pair of earrings and a simple necklace. Now when I do this for someone, I love to make pieces really special. So I would have a client come and they would tell me exactly what kind of a piece they're looking for, whether it's long or short. But in the interest of brevity, I'm going to just do a small little piece right now. So this is the process that I follow. So once I've chosen my beads, like I say, little amethyst, I then have to get these little pins, which are called head pins. And I take my little head pin, I thread it through the bead. Then I have to take my little pliers, cut off a certain length, and then I get my round nose pliers, and I bend the pliers around so that makes a perfect but very neat little circle, because this is fine jewelry and it needs to look really pretty. So that's the first piece. The second piece, I will get something called a round head pin, and I will pop that in the second piece, cut it off again with the pliers, and the round nose pliers to bend it. When my hands are cold in winter, I find it really hard. I have to have a little hot water bottle so that my hands aren't too cold, otherwise I can't bend the wire. I also have to make sure my nails aren't too long, because if they're too long, I can't bend the wire either. Then once I've done that, I'll ask my client what kind of an earring hoop she would like. So some people like the big long hoops like I'm wearing today. Some people like the small little hoops, just the regular little hoops, and some people prefer just a stud. So again, I would ask my client what they would like. So for today, I'm just going to do the very simple stud earrings with a very, very pretty amethyst. Like I say, amethyst is a beautiful color for spring. And if you look at any of the spring lines that are coming into shops, you'll see purples in various colors, from pale purple to the darker purples. Okay, well there's our one little earring. I don't know if we can see that, but just a very delicate, sweet little amethyst earring. And just not to make it too long, I'm going to do something very sweet. Little birds are really special to me, as we heard earlier on. So I'm going to do the same sort of thing, and I'm going to make a little bird necklace with a piece of amethyst. I heard that somebody loves amethysts and little birds, so I'm going to make this for her. Oops, I dropped a piece. Right. While I'm doing this, I also want to just say the other thing that I'm really passionate about is pearls. Pearls are really having a comeback at the moment. You know, it used to be something that your granny wore, but now pearls are really, really in fashion, and I love to work with pearls. I think pearls are the ultimate beauty for ashes story in the natural world. Putting the amethyst in, oopsie, I'm dropping things. Nearly there. This happens. Sometimes I drop things, and then my husband is hoovering the floor, and he's always finding little bits of silver, and he knows he's not allowed to hoover them up unless I say it's okay. So we are nearly there. I did want to tell you about the pearls. Let me pause and tell you about the pearls. So some people may not know, this is a pearl oyster shell. Isn't it beautiful? Now you can see the demarcations on the inside where the pearls have grown. But what I find is so special is that a tiny grain of sand gets inside the shell, and it causes so much pain to the very delicate oyster inside that the oyster releases a substance called nacre. And that nacre covers it layer by layer by layer until eventually you get something as beautiful as a pearl. So I just think that's a beautiful story. You know, from something that's so painful, you can get something beautiful. And I think that's a story of our lives too sometimes. You know, we all go through painful times, but something beautiful can come out of your pain. You just have to have that right attitude. And how to tell a real pearl, just very quickly, because there's a lot of fakes available. If it looks too perfect, it is probably a fake, because genuine pearls have little wrinkles and lines, and they are not perfect. They taste grainy if you rub it on your teeth. Yeah, those are genuine freshwater pearls. Those are the pearls that I love to use. Beauty for ashes in nature. Now I'm just quickly going to finish off this necklace. I shouldn't be more than a few seconds. Just snip this one. I did drop that one piece, which was very silly of me, but we are nearly there. And now, nearly ready for wearing. Isn't it lovely that spring is coming? The birds are singing. Just in time to wear a lovely little outfit with some new jewelry. As I say, I love to do custom-made jewelry for people. So there we have our beautiful little 2 sparrows with amethyst, and you would wear it with your little amethyst earrings. Isn't that so pretty? So that's a simple version. It can be more and more complicated. I can just carry on and play all day. I love all kinds of stones. And I love to mix stone and pearl, like I've done over here. With the amethyst, I can put stone, pearl, stone, pearl. Some pieces I like to do big chunky pieces like that. But yeah, that's kind of how my studio looks. I also work with a bit of silver. Mostly I like to use this silver, it's called Tibetan silver. The chains that I use are 925, which means it's real silver. And just about your chains, just know that living in Ireland, here's one thing I discovered. Chains will tarnish because they are pure silver. You just need to get a little silver cloth, give it a polish, and keep it away from damp, and then your jewelry will stay good for years and years. That's how I sit and make jewelry in my little studio. I love it.
Wow, that was amazing. How talented is that woman? My God, painting and then jewellery making, and it's absolutely fantastic. So thank you for staying with us this evening. We've had a fantastic evening with you all, and we look forward to seeing you all again next week. On behalf of myself, Angel, and all the crew here on the Irish Art Show, good night. you.